So if you're snatching a V card, are you like turning it up to 10 in the bedroom? What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, I got someone who has zero experience. I'm the first one.
Yeah, definitely. I would turn it up a little bit, try to make it more memorable.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
For anyone out there that would like to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, and this is the last episode of this season. Just like to remind you guys, we will take a little bit of a break after this, usually about 6 weeks, but then we will be back with new episodes. So don't worry, we did not disappear. But for this final episode of the season, we're speaking to a woman who reached out and said that she has a virginity kink. So we're going to dive into that, learn all about it, and we've got the guest on the line. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So it sounds self-explanatory, but can you give us your definition of a virginity kink?
Right. So I don't think it's as detailed when it comes to like when you're physically intimate. Like when you're in bed, I'm not like, oh, pretend to be a virgin or anything like that. It's like I would actively, when I was single, I would actively look for people who were virgins or had less partners because for some reason I'm more attracted to them.
Why do you think that is? Is it just like their demeanor, or is it just the fact that you know that they haven't slept with a lot of people?
I think it's the fact that they haven't slept with that many people. It goes back to a lot of, it could be like trauma, not to get too, TMI, but I grew up for a certain chunk of my life very religious. And I never had, the birds and the bees talk because I was expected to wait. So maybe it's like the innocence of someone being a virgin or having less partners, or it's like an insecurity thing where I want to be better and I want to be only viewed as the best you've ever had, I guess, even though I don't think too much about that. It's tough.
So, okay. Do you feel like you have an insecurity? Like, are you worried that if you sleep with someone who has a lot of partners that you wouldn't match up to other people?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's definitely been something I've worried about before. Afterwards I overthink and wonder if I performed well or if I overperformed or underperformed.
So is it fair to say that this kink is sort of birthed in that, like that insecurity of you just want to make sure that you're like remembered, I guess, by these people?
Yeah, actually, probably. Yeah, now that you're saying it that way. Because I would like to be remembered. I mean, I shouldn't care. I really shouldn't. But yeah, I like my boyfriend right now, he's only slept with 2 people. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting that you're a woman because men talk about this all the time, I feel like, where they just, body count, and you see this shit all over social media. And that just feels normal for men to talk about. But from like a woman's perspective, it's interesting too. Is there a like power dynamic to it also? Like where I guess like the physical act of taking someone's virginity.
Yeah, so I have taken a couple, and I enjoyed it very much. That's actually something that I made in my notes. And when I first lost my virginity, my boyfriend at the time who took my virginity was not a virgin, and I was very jealous of that. Because again, I think maybe with the religious side, I was expecting him to be a virgin, and we did this together. And the girl that he had slept with before me, I would like Google her or look her up on Facebook and be like, why her?
Oh, so you really want to be
wow
better and the one to be remembered.
Yeah, no, I would like to, definitely. It's just something that I prefer. And I actually didn't realize that I had this, either kink or preference, whatever you want to call it, until a couple years ago. I was talking to my friend about it, and I was like, it's actually like really strange. I prefer to go for guys who, have had either very little or no partners.
So I guess when you're single and you're sort of dating, you kind of go out of your way to make sure that you know how many partners they've had or how experienced they are.
Yeah, so not with every single person, but when I was, single and, mingling, I would ask people before we met up or hooked up, how many people they slept with. I didn't try to make it obvious that I was really interested. I just, would, kind of subtly throw it in there. And if they told me that they had slept with, I don't know, say over 15, 20 people, I'd be like, ooh, even 10 is like a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm interested too, because I mean, you, like Greg said, you see a lot of it online of men being like, women who are ran through or whatever terminology they use. And, on the opposite side, there's a lot of women who are like, body count should not matter. It shouldn't, be the reason why you do or don't date someone. And then, so I'm wondering how you kind of view that. Do you think that the men who are saying that that's like important for them, and if a woman has had over like 10 partners, then they're essentially like used goods, I'll say, quote unquote, because usually it's coming from a malicious sort of place, but like, how does that make you feel?
Well, I think that there's definitely a difference with the way that I perceive my thought process with it and with the way that men typically, when they say, oh, I don't want a woman who, like you said, is quote unquote ran through. I think it's different because I'm not really looking at them as like being a whore or being ran through. I don't know. I look at it more as like, I think it's so different to see someone who hasn't had as many partners or, is not as experienced.
What specific?
I hope that made sense.
Well, yeah, but what specifically, like how does that then translate? And I guess let me ask this question first. Is there a sexual arousal that comes from you finding out a person doesn't have a lot of partners? Like, is this a turn on for you that makes the sex better? Or is it more so like, oh, okay, good. Like now I'll definitely be one of the best people he slept with. Like, is it truly just insecurity driven, or is there like that true kink aspect of being aroused by it?
Well, no, it's definitely both. I definitely am happy with it. And, during, when I'm sleeping with someone who hasn't, had that many partners or any, I'm not always thinking if I'm doing well or whatever, but it's like, oh, this is nice that I can kind of do whatever I want with this person, and not be like compared to. I think that's another thing. So it is, a little insecurity driven, with being compared to, or are they thinking about someone else? I know that's a big thing that women think about when they're sleeping with a guy, because, we're always nervous is, are they thinking about someone else? Are they picturing someone else?
And I guess where do you kind of like sit with your own sexual experience? Like if you've had multiple partners, like how does that sort of play in? Is it kind of like you're sort of absolved, but the men that you choose to date or, be with, they have to be like little to no sexual partners?
Right. No, that's a good question. I mean, as far as I know, my boyfriend doesn't really care about the amount of people that I've slept with. It's nothing crazy. It's definitely more than a few. But he doesn't really, because he knows, that we're having a call and, I told him what it was about and everything, and he gets it, but not to the point, it like in depth to what I have. So I don't think that he really cares too much, about the amount of partners that I've been with. And I wouldn't want to make someone feel terrible, like if someone had told me, like say my current boyfriend had told me, oh, before we started dating, I've slept with, well, I don't know, 30 people. I would definitely be way turned off. It wouldn't fully eliminate, the chance of me being with him, but it would definitely just make me feel more turned off.
So I guess what turns you off about that? Like, I know you said like, I'm worried that I won't measure up to one of or a few of the other 30 or something like that. But the initial kind of hearing that number, okay, my partner has slept with, 20 people in their life. How does that change your perception of this person? Like them as a person? Like I get like your own insecurities, but that's like you, but them specifically, like, do you view them negatively now? Like, oh, you've slept around, or is it just like internal?
No, I wouldn't say like, especially I wouldn't say it to them like, oh, you're, sleeping around and you're a whore and you just, again, are ran through or whatever. It's not necessarily that. It's just me wanting to experience, I guess the quote unquote innocence of someone not being as experienced.
So what are some examples of that you've experienced and enjoyed?
So when I think I was 17, nearing 18, I was with someone who was a virgin, and I took his virginity, and it was great. And so I think knowing that I had I guess, not necessarily power, but I guess the power of him learning pleasure from me, it made me feel really good. And then after we had broken up, I was with another person who was also a virgin, and again took his virginity, and it just made me feel, I guess, powerful.
I mean, there is something inherently powerful about that. Like, I think when you think like younger, like Joe could probably relate, like it sounds so douchey saying it now, but when you're like a young kid in middle school, you almost like you want to collect, like, remember V cards? We're like,
yeah.
I have 2 V cards.
I mean, I have 0, so I've never taken anyone's virginity in my life.
Oh,
so
man, I'm sorry.
I'll never be remembered, I guess. But also I feel like, so how I don't, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I was going to ask, how old are you? But you could give us a range.
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm between 25 and 30.
Okay. So here's the thing for me is like, once you get to a certain age, and like, cause I'm also trying to think about this, like sort of flipped. Like if a man was saying this, I feel like it would have a different tone, or it would come across a little like weird. If a guy who is nearing 30 was like, I just really like inexperienced women, because it's like you're sort of, and I'm not, and like I guess because I'm maybe just kind of like trained into thinking if someone's inexperienced and they're younger, like I don't think there's an issue with being like, well, I like to date people who are my age but virgins or something like that. Like whatever, go for it. But I think maybe that's why I'm making this sort of comparison, because I mean I don't know this, but do you typically find that the people who are more inexperienced are younger?
Not necessarily. I've met people before that were close to my age that had either 1 or 2 or none at all. I think when I was 16, 17, 18, and I was seeing people, dating people, and snatching their virginities, they were like maybe a year younger than me, but nothing like too significant.
Right.
And that's what I had said in my email, is that I definitely was not looking for anyone who was under a certain age or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the difference as well, because I think when we're talking about the content that you see online, a lot of these men are in their mid 30s and they're like, well, I want to date like a 21-year-old girl because she doesn't have as much baggage or whatever, and it's like, all right, this feels like
just comes across so strange no matter what.
Right.
Right. And like I said before, I think that there's a different way it's perceived when men talk about it, and also the way that they talk about it is as if they are, ran through whores and they have to be younger and prettier and all this. But I would never
there's context of so much shit in that when some of these people talk about like she has to be beautiful and can cook and be a virgin and have a high paying job, and it's just this like endless list of the perfect person. But for you, like, I guess, where does this rank on your list of
deal breakers, I guess?
Yeah, just like importance, because if you were like, let's just say you're like nearing 30 and let's pretend you didn't have a boyfriend at the moment and you were trying to meet people or continue snatching virginities, as you said, great line. By that age, and we're assuming things here, but you would think like by that age, if someone is very good looking, maybe they'll have a partner or have had multiple partners or success or, all these things. Like, does it, for you, is like virginity and minimal experience like more important than like looks or job or personality?
No, I wouldn't say necessarily. As long, it depends. Like if I'm getting to know someone and, they had a high amount of partners, but I was having a really good connection with them and they were very nice to me. And, I don't really care also too much about, high paying jobs and all that stuff anyway. So it's really about the way, I'm being treated. And if you're treating me very well and it's a bonus that you aren't as experienced, then that's awesome. I'm not going to completely write someone off that has slept with, a lot of people. It just for me lessens my attraction to them, because again, I just don't like to be viewed as either just a number or, I don't like to be compared to, even though there's no evidence that I'm being compared to. It's just my brain.
Before we continue this conversation with our guest, we do have a couple of sponsors to tell you about. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You want to know a way to get comfortable this holiday season? Therapy. I'm serious. Hear me out. Therapy can be very comforting. Therapy is a way that you can cozy up in the holidays. For some people, it's a warm blanket. For others, it's a cup of hot chocolate. But I'm being serious here. Therapy is a way to finish this year strong and understand how to get as comfortable in your own skin as possible. That is something that therapy has done for me. I will be the first person in my life to admit that I used to care a lot about what other people thought. I even found myself at a point in my life of making key decisions in my life based on how I thought other people would react or perceive them, when in reality, that is not the way you should be making decisions, and it does not matter what other people think. So for me, therapy has really helped me get super comfortable in my own skin, comfortable with my own decision making, comfortable with saying no to people. I think that's something huge that a lot of people struggle with, the ability to say no to the things that they don't actually want to do. I learned in therapy that you can be selfish in a positive way, I think is a big takeaway. And I know a lot of people out there, especially around the holiday season, dealing with a lot of family, friends, a lot of reflection of the year that just passed, may have found that they felt like they wasted a lot of time doing things that they didn't want to do. And that is something that you should not go into the new year with. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, definitely give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is entirely online, and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed professional therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. For me, that's one of the best features about this, so you can take your time finding someone that you really connect with. So find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/OPL and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/OPL, and get 10% off that first month. Our next sponsor is Cook Unity. I love Cook Unity. Guys, it's the holiday season. It's time to liven up that dinner. It's time to really enjoy the things that you're eating at night, whether it's with your family, friends, or even just by yourself. I love Cook Unity because they are meals that are crafted by award-winning chefs. And these meals also include local farm fresh ingredients, a ton of vibrant flavors that get delivered right to your door. I love eating out and trying new restaurants, and Cook Unity brings that experience to your home because let's be real, you can't go to nice restaurants all the time unless you make billions of dollars. But Cook Unity gives you that experience and will really, really liven up your at-home dinners. The best part is you get all of this at a fraction of the cost and time. So you can go to cookunity.com/OPL, or you could enter code OPL before checkout and you will get 50% off your first week. So here are some of the meals that I got this past week from Cook Unity. I have my list here of meals that I really enjoyed. I had the honey roasted pork rice bowl, out of this world. A lemon grilled chicken grain bowl, which was amazing. They did a barbecue chicken, a mom's Sunday sauce and rigatoni was really good. I even had blackened shrimp and grits. That was actually probably my favorite. As you can see, huge variety on this menu. Again, all crafted by award-winning chefs. So these are so easy to make. There's like no cleanup, which is amazing. But the quality of food you're getting, it has surpassed like any meal delivery service that I have ever used. And they have flexible, commitment-free subscription, so you could skip deliveries, you could pause, you could cancel anytime. There's also a great gift to give someone in your life who loves food. So head to cookunity.com/OPL or enter code OPL before checkout, and you will get 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using code OPL or going to cookunity.com/OPL. And now back to the episode.
And what is there a number that's sort of like the cutoff for you of like, this is where I start to get turned off?
The ick.
Probably around 15, maybe between like 10 and 15.
I feel like that's
high.
I thought you were going to say way lower.
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
so if someone told you like, yeah, I've slept with 7 people, you'd be like, oh, cool.
No, I mean, that's still a decent amount. I was trying to give a little bit of,
I feel like
leeway
most
for
people go their lives without having 10 to 15 partners.
Oh, wow. I
mean, I don't know. I just,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's great. But
just like more people should do that or not do that.
I just definitely think the lesser, the better.
Right. Mm-hmm. But if you were like talking to someone, I guess I'm trying to get at like what number would start to make you like just very slightly
and we're
wince.
not trying to paint you as a monster. Like we understand like the nuance of if someone's very nice or you're attracted to and they say like 8 people, you're not going to be like, ew, get away from me. I can't. But like that internal thought you have of like the fantasy of meeting someone that checks all the boxes. Like what's that number, that kind of range that would be ideal for you? And like where, like Joe said, would that number be where you would really start thinking to yourself like, oh, the other boxes are really going to have to get checked because this guy's got a body count. Yeah.
Like it could, and is it like 6 or it could, it could be lower. I don't know.
Right. So I'll start with like the low number. So anything like 3 or 4 and under, I'm going to be like, okay, I can work with this. Anything more than that, I'm probably going to be overthinking, who are they? Are they your ex-girlfriends? Were they just hookups? That's another thing. I'm also an avid overthinker. So I'm going to be looking maybe on Facebook at who you used to date and, who you used to sleep with. It's just kind of also a little bit, it provides some peace of mind. Because, I should probably see a therapist about that. But,
Are you a jealous person, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. I try really hard not to be, and that's why I think also with having a partner that hasn't had as many, partners, I don't really have to worry about being so jealous or, being, an overthinker in that sense.
Okay, so and also there's the other side to this as well, where you said there's also like an actual turn on with knowing that someone is inexperienced, and is that coming from a place of like I like to be, I guess, more dominant in a sexual environment, or like I guess teach someone stuff, and like is that fair to say like that's why it's a turn on because you like being like that?
Yep. No, 100%. Like you hit it right on the nose.
Okay.
So if you're snatching a V card, are you like turning it up to 10 in the bedroom?
What does that mean?
You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm not trying to like paint you as a predator, obviously, but like I got someone who has zero experience. I'm the first one.
Okay.
Like, are you?
I'm going to put on a performance, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
That they'll never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would turn it up a little bit if that were, the circumstance. I would try to make it more memorable.
Because I'm just like if you're mostly sleeping with guys with little to no experience, I would think maybe it's not the best sex, right?
Right. Maybe some people would actually be on the opposite end where it's like, oh, if they've only slept with one or two people, then they won't be really good at this, and that's not really interesting to me.
Right. I mean,
but I guess the idea is you can mold them to like just fit you.
Okay.
And your
needs. That's like the mindset I have is that like, I'm teaching you and showing you how this is done. And I guess, what Joe said about being dominant. I definitely like to explore that side of me. I also like to be, submissive. I'm a little bit of both. So I think with me wanting to have a partner who's not as experienced, the dominant side of, my sexuality definitely comes out in that way.
So you think that body count matters?
Not in the way that other people make it, like I was talking earlier, because like mostly when you hear about body count, it's from guys and, they're talking about girls. So it is definitely different to hear a woman talk about it. And I don't mean it in a way where I'm like hardcore judging someone or, trying to be disrespectful or calling them names or anything. I just.
Right. But you are eliminating people from your dating pool.
Yes.
So it's not as malicious, which I agree. I think that like.
You're not like judging them as a person necessarily.
You're just like, not for me.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Which is, which I think that just means that it does matter, but it doesn't matter in the way that like men are like, you're a disgusting fucking dried up whatever because you've had sex with 4 people or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But okay. So what, I guess, how does that come up? Because it sounds like it needs to come up. Like when you start seeing somebody like,
it has to come up before sex, at least the first time, right?
I assume.
Yeah. So when I was single and, doing my thing, I think there were only a few people that I didn't, ask how many people they'd slept with, only because I was probably desperate. But
thanks for the honesty.
Yeah, no problem. But other than that, I definitely, if we would chat it up first, if I was on a dating app or we'd get each other's either Snapchat or, phone number, we would have regular conversation. And then if it got to the point where we're thinking about meeting up or, something along those lines, I would try to wiggle it in the conversation or just bluntly, ask like, hey, how many people have you dated or slept with? And, I think I experienced like 1 or 2 guys that really didn't want to talk about it or anything. So we just never, kind of fizzled out, and that's fine. But yeah,
would you need to know that information if you were dating someone and they were just like, yeah, I'm just not comfortable having that conversation, honestly?
Like if I was dating someone and they had said I don't want to like discuss it at all.
Yeah, like if you
Or
guys
would you be able to end up dating a person like that?
Were you, if you guys were kind of like hitting it off, but this was like, well, it just kind of makes me uncomfortable to talk about that. I don't think that it like matters.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a big turnoff for me. I think that you also should be able to like be honest and be open, and not so I can judge and, say bye. I think it's good to have that kind of conversation. And also it's also good to talk about, I guess, potentially if you had slept with people and you didn't use protection, or if there's, something you need to talk about with like, not saying, because I've never had one, thank God, but like an STD or anything,
Uh-huh.
I've had conversations before when I was single with people about stuff like that.
So do you have, like, if someone's had an STD before, that's like a deal breaker for you?
No, I just meant like in the sense, if you're like talking to someone about, past partners, I think it's good to be able to be honest about it. And, discuss if you ever have had that.
I see what you're saying. Like if someone was completely unwilling to talk about that,
Yes.
you might worry that
Yes.
maybe they weren't sharing information about an
Right.
STD
Sorry
or
if I worded
something.
that wrong.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, it's what it is. But like, so how would you feel if someone you were talking to, you guys are kind of hitting it off, they slept with 3 people, but they've had gonorrhea before?
I think that would be okay. I think that'd be all right, as long as they were tested recently and, and they were honest.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were talking to someone that was either a virgin or slept with one person, like ideal situation for you for the number of sexual partners, but also someone that you're attracted to, that's treating you well, that you're hitting it off with. And then that conversation comes up and you said your number of people you slept with, and they told you that that was too high for them.
Oh, that's a good question. Considering the way I think, I would probably ask, is it the way I think, or is it because you think I'm a whore? Like it would be kind of, because like I said, like we said before, with men, it generally is different. They usually think that, if a woman has a lot of bodies, she is ran through, and all that stuff. So it really would depend on the context.
You would have this conversation with them essentially.
Yes.
Like get to the root of what that is. But when if you're talking to someone and they tell you a number that's too high for you, and that makes you want to not go any further with this person, do you tell them the reason?
No.
I guess you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever, told someone that before. If I have, I really don't remember. I think it would just fizzle out somehow.
And I'm assuming in that conversation, you're also sharing the amount of partners that you've had as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they ask, definitely, I don't mind sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a number for you that would almost like feel too high for you personally? Like, do you have that worry for yourself, or it's like unlimited range?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've never thought of that. I mean, my body count isn't low, but it's not anything crazy, I probably wouldn't want to, I'm not really interested in sleeping around. I mean, like I said, I'm in a very, happy relationship. So I, God forbid if I ever was not in it, I really don't think I would be interested in, in sleeping around or anything like that.
Before we wrap up this conversation with our guest, we do have one more sponsor. Hey, everyone. With the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win the Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out Manscaped's latest masterpiece, the Chairman Pro package, and trust me, This is like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. And you could head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code OPL for 20% off plus free shipping. I have been using Manscaped for a long time, a lot of different iterations of the razors that they put out, and I will tell you that the Chairman Pro is by far the best that I have used. I don't know how they keep making these things so good every time they put them out. It is insane. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one, but 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. If you're worried about nicking yourself up here or down there, you do not have to worry with the Manscaped Chairman Pro. I can tell you from experience, no blood, no nothing. I love that it's also waterproof. You can use it in the shower, which is really cool. And the Chairman Pro package also includes the Power Shave Gel, so you can get that ultimate wet shave experience. Its non-irritating, lubricating formula is made specifically to work with the Chairman Pro. It also comes with a face shave soother. This is an aftershave serum, really nice, game changer. And I really like it. Also has a skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some of that stubble, but clean it up a bit. This is a really cool feature. I know a lot of men out there are like, I want to keep that look. I want to be a little dirty, that's stubbly, but I don't exactly know how to do that myself. And this will allow you to have that option. So you can get the Chairman Pro package today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code OPL at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code OPL at manscaped.com. And this is also an amazing gift for any hairy men in your life. Seriously, it is. And now back to the show.
Does context matter as far as partners go? Because, you know, you saying that your number isn't low, but it's not extremely high or anything like that is totally fine. But it sounds like, you know, if you were dating someone, getting to know them, and they had a number that was similar to yours, then it would be an issue for you, even though that you are saying I have context to mine. But if they had context to theirs, does that matter at all? Or is it still like, I just think that's too high?
Yeah, I mean, shit, you're putting it in a way where it's definitely, it seems a little unfair in that sense. And I totally get that. I just, yeah, if someone said the amount that I have, I probably just wouldn't be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's fine. Like, it's fine for you to have like a preference and an opinion on that. Of course, you're going to have to deal with people being like, well, that's extremely hypocritical, which it is, but you know, it is what it is. It's how you feel, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of acknowledge that, of course, there is hypocrisy there. But I mean, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I know. I mean, and don't get me wrong. It's not like every single person that I've slept with, you know, they were between 0 and 5 partners or whatever it is.
Right.
I've definitely seen people who had a lot, but it definitely just made me less attracted to them.
Yeah, and I'm sure on the flip side, there could be a lot of people listening that what you're saying resonates with how they think. I think what's interesting too is you see a topic like this, or like the subject line in the email you send, and you almost assume that it's just like a pure dominance thing. Like, okay, I'm going to rock these people's world, collect this. Like, just that's because I'm so dominant sexually that these are the perfect candidates for me to be submissive to, you know, my needs. But that does not seem like the case at all. And we appreciate the honesty around you even still continuing to work out sort of the root of this. And like, so much of it is honestly based in kind of the opposite of that, of dominance, of it's that like the potential insecurity or not wanting to be compared or potential jealousy. So it's interesting how something like this could evolve out of not the thing that you would assume it came from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
For you, like your boyfriend now, would you say that most of what he knows sexually, like through his experience, like it comes from you, like you almost teaching him, for lack of a better term?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to tell. We haven't really talked about it. Um, if he feels that way. I mean, I think he's naturally gifted, so I'm I'm glad either way. But
Yeah, let's
yeah,
not
I
say
don't.
people with, low numbers or virgins aren't just going to like hit it out the gate.
Yeah, but I was also going to ask that at a certain point. Like if you've heard someone was like, they've had one partner before and then the sex is great and you're like, wait, hold on. Like this is this is too good. I'm no longer turned on by this because this is too good. Like, is there ever like it's like a stupid question, but does that play into it at all? Of being like, well, if I would rather someone who's a little more inexperienced and like is maybe not great, just so I can like be a teacher in certain moments and like that's where I get the most satisfaction. Like, is there that at all?
Or a virgin just rocks your world and you're down for that too.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, hold on, that's not.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not necessarily, really interested in being like, oh, I need to teach you how to do this. I just like the idea of someone, you know, you know, being with me and thinking, wow, this is great, and not comparing it, like I said earlier, even though, like I said, there's no proof of that.
Right. But it sounds like the thing that you're most worried about is the more people someone has slept with, the more they can compare you to others. And that is more of a chance for you to kind of like not be in the top 5 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just have that kind of insecurity where I want to be viewed as someone memorable or
Do you think
good.
it's sex specifically or just something beyond that? And sex is like an easy way to measure it because people might form those lists in their mind or, have partners and be able to look back. Or is it just like having an impact and being memorable as a person? Or do you just really want to be like the best at sex?
I mean, I think it leans more towards sex. I mean, I love to be, obviously remembered and cherished in a relationship. But I don't think that way during, just a basic, relationship with my boyfriend. I think it's mostly sexual.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we appreciate the honesty, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
This is
totally.
so much more below the surface than I imagined this conversation would be. Really interesting. I do have a question. Do you think from your experience, you're good at spotting a man who is a virgin? If you're able to talk to someone for like 5 or 10 minutes, do you think you'd get an accurate read?
Honestly, yeah.
What would the signs be?
I don't know.
he's trying to not sound like a virgin. He's like, what? Oh, so what should I
Come on. It's a good question.
No, I know. I'm joking.
Probably.
I mean, like those FBI people who could like tell if you're lying because your like eye twitches.
I was going
or
to say
something.
body language.
Yeah.
Like body language, is a big one. Eye contact, the way that they're talking to you, if it has any, flirtation. I don't know.
Like a shy guy? You like a shy guy?
Yes.
Okay. You said that like,
Whoa.
no.
Yeah.
She's like, that's it. A very shy guy. Okay.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I don't know how else to ask this question. Do you watch porn?
Oh my God.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. I was just
No,
wondering if
I
there's
used to.
Like
very
virgin?
specific category. Yeah.
No, I used to. I mean, when I used
There's
to.
just too much sex for you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much happening.
These porn stars are
just know
sleeping
they're
with too
lying.
many. Yeah, this
It's
isn't
all
really
fake.
how it goes.
No, a lot of porn's fake, which is, that's just the way it is. But, some people need it, and that's fine. I really don't, care to watch it. I'm satisfied with what I have. But when I did watch it, I don't know, just like basic shit,
Yeah. I mean, I think he was just wondering. He was just wondering if there was just like a connection there or something. But
yeah, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We appreciate you being so honest about this and having the discussion. I'm sure that there will be maybe a discussion in the...
Yeah, I think this will spark a very interesting conversation.
Right.
Because this isn't, like I said before, I think just a much more in-depth conversation. And
it's a nuanced version of like, does body count matter in a way? You know what I mean? It's
and
more,
a female perspective and
Right.
like the insecure. It's really interesting.
I'd be interested to see how people sort of respond.
Yeah, no, me too, definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us. We appreciate it. And, good luck with everything with your boyfriend.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah,
Have a good
appreciate
one.
it. Bye.
Bye.
Her naturally gifted boyfriend.
Her naturally gifted virgin boyfriend. Not so virgin anymore. No, I think it is interesting, though, because it's funny to hear, because it's like obviously there is some hypocrisy in like, well, you should be able to talk about it without any judgment. It's like, but we're making judgment.
I mean, it is a judgment. Like, I get the distinction of like, I'm not going to hear that this person slept with 50 people and that makes them like an inherently
Their
bad
character,
person, or their character defines them, or their whatever. But
Not for me.
a judgment is being made. Like, that is,
Of course.
if anything, like her key indicator of being with someone.
I agree. So that's why I'm saying like, it is a judgment. And like, oh, this should be a safe space to just talk and you should be able to just have the conversation. It's like, okay, but we're not just doing that. You're trying to check it off a list here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not doing that, because if you tell me, I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just learning and we're just having the conversation. You're taking the information, you're being like, oh, you're either crossing my name out or you're leaving it up with this information, which is judgment. Yeah.
Again, like based on her preference and a bit of like a kink in there and a turn on. And like, I get that that's very important for her. It's also really interesting hearing that from a woman's perspective, because like we said, we're so inundated with just like shitty men making this claim all the time.
To be fair, I do think these things are different, because while she's saying I like inexperienced men, she's not saying anything else. But when when someone, not you, but like when a man says, I like women from 19 to 23 are where I'll date.
Yeah.
That's it, because they have the least amount of baggage, blah, blah, blah. They are also saying in the same breath that women who are older than that are bad for the earth. Like, not just for them.
Yeah.
Just like
Serve no purpose. Yeah.
They're ran through, have this, blah, 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 and all this shit. And like whatever the fuck else they say. But like, so there's that. So it's like you can have a preference as long as it's not like damaging the rest of the dating pool. Because everybody
that's toxic,
has
and like that's real. Like it's real out there. There's someone I spoke to, this was years ago, but I'll always remember the conversation, where they said that they started talking to a girl and then just stopped. But prior to that, they were really into this girl, like so excited about the first date and stuff. And I asked them why, and they said she slept with 2 people. And I was like, 2 people? Like that's it? That's what you're worried about? That's why you're not seeing this person? And they just went, too many.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never experienced anyone saying something like
and
that.
like dead serious. Like stopped seeing this person. Like,
interesting. This is also coming from someone who's never taken a V card in his life. So someone's got mine out there.
I was gonna say that's an unfair trade. No,
Someone has mine out
you don't
there,
always. It's not always a reciprocated.
I don't know. That's. But it's funny because like some people have the opposite sort of reaction too. Especially I don't know, especially women. But like if you were 28 and you met a 28-year-old and they're like, I'm a virgin, a lot of people would be like, what? You know, it would almost be like shocking.
That's a thing too. Yeah,
but.
Yeah, I'm very curious on the conversation here of how just in general in the comments of how people feel about this conversation, and like not judging the guest, but like
does just body count matter?
Yeah, I guess if you want to put it in the TikTok way, yeah.
I mean, I think that like,
yeah, I mean that is the question.
Yeah.
For her, it does. And she explained her reasons, and she's trying to understand.
And I don't think it's fair to frame the question the way that she did, where it's like, you should be able to talk to your partner without judgment. It's like, okay, but what you're doing, you are judging them. So like, it's not fair for you to do that. I am cool with never knowing, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't need to know. Like, maybe I need to know in a very roundabout way. I don't need to know a number.
I guess, yeah. Like,
You know
I'm
what
just
I'm
trying to think
saying?
how that conversation, like at this point in my life, it's impossible for me to understand how this conversation would go. But like meeting someone new and that coming up, like what does,
I don't even, how would that come up?
and yeah, I don't know. Because I don't think I would ever outright ask that.
Me neither. I don't think I've ever.
I mean,
Maybe when I was like 18.
when we're younger.
Yeah, when I'm like 18, I'd be like, yo, have you ever done it? You know? Like
Yeah.
finding out like who's a virgin and who's not a virgin. I probably did a lot of that.
Sure, there's that period when like some
Yeah,
people
yeah.
start having sex
Right.
and maybe you haven't yet, or yeah.
Yeah.
What's your body count?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't feel like I need to know that in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting for her.
But if it would only be like, if it was outrageous and be like, yo, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, then I'd be like, that's what?
like 6 figures.
Yeah, then I'd be like, okay.
I'd have some
this is
follow-up questions.
6 figures. I'm having
Yeah.
some follow-up questions too.
I'm allowed like 2 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate her just like, sure, maybe there's like a sort of double standard she's not seeing in certain cases, and I understand, but she's like being honest about like jealousy is clearly a factor here, and like going out of your way to actually see who the other people were, and like heavy insecurities around this judgment around sex, and whatever. Maybe that's just men's fault anyway.
I also think that if a man came out, on the flip side, if a man came out and said, I prefer women who are inexperienced, and because I have this like insecurity and I like to be in a dominant position where I'm sort of like teaching whatever, I still think that would probably be viewed badly by people. But that's what this woman is saying, you know? And I think that like, unless there's a giant age gap, then I start to feel like it's starting to get into something that's a little strange to me. But like, if you're 28 and you're a man who's 28 and you're interested in like, and you find a girl who or you say like, I want to date someone who's 25, 26, 27, 28, like around my age or something, who's inexperienced. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're not saying that it's like the rest of everyone else is bad. And that when you find out that information, it's just like, it's a negative thing. It doesn't have to be for you, because there's things that people have as like deal breakers. Like if I think like for me, a big one, let's say like cigarette smoking. Like if you're on a first date and it's going extremely well, at the end of the date, she lights up a cigarette. You'd be like, oh, I'm not like that does something that it's kind of like, well, that just ruined a lot because I just don't want that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would rather someone who doesn't, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I guess the hard thing, and like why you just keep going back and forth, is it's just, it's like, maybe it's not a direct judgment of character, but like in a way it like, it's like for to just be like, oh, you are so nice and all your personality is great. I love like the way you treated me, but
you've had sex with 7 people and it's like, is that crazy?
Yeah.
Like that's not crazy.
I don't think so. I mean, no.
Especially at our age.
Right. That also, the pool really is getting limited, you would think.
Right.
This is so interesting.
It is an interesting conversation. I wonder how the comments will feel.
Yeah.
We'll take a peek.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. All right. Well, for anyone out there that wants to hop on the show, hit us up. Our email is oplpodcast@gmail.com. Just send us an email and we'll get back to you.
Yes. Send that email, because even though we are taking a short break after this season, we are still going to be in here recording. So we want to get some episodes going for the next season. So reach out, and you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at OPL Podcast. You can support the show at patreon.com/OPL show, and we will see you next season.
See ya.